Hi, this is Kerby Anderson. Each day we take on the tough issues and provide a biblical perspective to them. The topics we cover are wide-ranging: apologetics, theology, prophecy, creation and evolution, intelligent design, marriage, family, child-rearing, the millennial generation, trends in society, politics, economics, business, religious liberty, the Constitution, public policy, foreign policy, military policy, tensions in the Middle East, abortion, homosexuality, pornography, sexual ethics, media, technology, history, and America's godly heritage. We talk about anything that affects your faith, your family, or your freedom. So don't go anywhere, because Point of View starts right now.
Across America, live. This is Point of View. And now, Kerby Anderson.
Thank you for joining me. We're going to be spending some time today talking about setting the agenda for life and marriage. Matter of fact, over the next couple of days, we're going to be talking about setting the agenda since we are in an election period. Certainly, we are talking about candidates, but also what should be the agenda for next year, a new president, a new Congress. And so those are some things we're going to be talking about today. We'll have a chance to talk with John Stonestreet by phone and Marjorie Dannenfelser, Penna Dexter in studio with us. But as we go along here, we're also going to talk about Truth Team 360, as you have even heard me mention yesterday and earlier in the week. We talked a little bit about the idea that for as little as $1 a day, $30 a month, you can support this ministry. And so we're going to talk about how you can be part of that Truth Team. And if you are, we certainly want to thank you. But if you've been listening to the program for a while and have not become one of those Truth Team 360, we'll spend some time, just a few minutes, talking about that. But Penna Dexter in studio with us, and last night, Donald Trump, or yesterday afternoon, I should say, Donald Trump, and then last night, Ivanka Trump talked about coming up with this idea of a guaranteed maternity leave. Tell us more, if you might.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ivanka Trump has been very vocal about working moms and how things have changed so much since a lot of our government child care policies were formulated back in the 60s when most moms were stay-at-home moms. Now it's about 70% are working. And, that is a reality. But, in a sense, liberals and the left always make that the government's problem. Yeah. When families, need to be able to figure out, according to their own needs, how the kids are cared for. So I do like some of the things they're talking about. And I think the idea of giving tax advantages to people for child care is not a bad one if it's formulated correctly. But anything beyond where you're providing government daycare, where you're providing welfare payments, which is part of this, yes, to people who don't pay any taxes for that, it becomes, again, redistribution of wealth and social engineering. And, I just really don't want us to take anything away from the individual decisions that families make in raising their children and move that toward government care of children. This is just, it's a goal of the left, and the right sometimes gloms onto it. And so I think this is a time, Kerby, as you've mentioned, Truth 360, setting the agenda, where we need to talk about some of these things in a really reasoned manner to help people understand what the agenda should be and not to have us led by sort of our emotions.
Right. And again, even last night when she was on the Kelly File, she talked about the fact that the cost of child care is the single largest expense affecting families, exceeding housing. So certainly that was one of the arguments that was being made. But there is the bigger argument is, do we want government to tell businesses what they can and should do? Now, she was even asked, for example, well, does the Trump companies do that? Yes. And as a matter of fact, her own companies do. So that's good. But I'm glad they made that decision. And I think when you start having the government mandate anything, you know what happens, because then if you don't follow that mandate, there are all sorts of repercussions. And if I can share one thing, and I'd love to get your thoughts about this, if indeed every company, and let's talk about maybe a mom and pop print shop, and there's a woman there that gets pregnant, and maybe she's the receptionist, maybe she runs one of the offset printers, maybe she runs one of the copiers, to be told that she has to now be paid for 6 weeks when she's providing no benefit when their margins are so slim. The next time they come to hire somebody, they're going to look at somebody and say, if she's going to get pregnant, I'm just not going to hire her. And this could have the negative impact of causing some employers to not hire young women that might be inclined to have a child.
Certainly. I mean, I think anybody that owns a small business has probably run into this where, people are great. They are just performing so well, and all of a sudden they're pregnant and they say, well, I'm going to come right back. And then, when the baby comes, they really, it's kind of hard to leave that baby. And so when you come around as a federal government or a state government and you say, okay, you have to provide someone 6 weeks of paid care, what you've done is you've left that position. If that person is worth their salt, then that's going to be a big hole where they have left and gone on maternity leave. And so, again, this is a situation where sometimes you have negotiations between employees and employers. Well, maybe after 2 weeks she can work from home and do some of her work from home or whatever. But it always seems to happen that government, when they see a problem, they design a one-size-fits-all solution. Taxpayers have to pay for it, and sometimes it is the small individual company that has to suffer.
Just in a few minutes, I think we've covered some of the very issues that we'll certainly focus on, and this is the kind of thing, as you well know, we do at Point of View every single day. And one of the reasons why we are coming to you today and for the rest of the week is to focus on this idea of Truth Team 360. Now, why do we call it 360? Well, first of all, we're looking 360. We're looking at all the issues. As we said before, we never put an issue off the table. Every issue's on the table, but more importantly, to actually be one of our Truth Team for as little as $1 a day, which is $30 a month. That's $360 a year. Now, if you would like to join with us, and I would encourage you to do so, there are some tremendous benefits. Now, I know you don't give to get, but one of those is if you actually give, we will send you the audio Bible. It's in the English Standard Version. It's a Bible stick, Penna, right there, everything you got, in the New Testament, so you can listen to it, and this is a way to get God's Word into your heart, and we're making that available for that lowest level. Now, some of you might say, well, I would like to maybe sponsor a minute a month, and we figured that turns out about $65 a month, and at that level, then we have some other benefits that you have as well. You can either get the Bible stick, or we have this beautiful 16-ounce tumbler and journal set where you can go in and drink your coffee or whatever you might, your tea, and journal. And we have that also illustrated on the website, pointofview.net. And then some people might say, I probably could give $100 a month. And if you can do that, well, then you receive all those benefits. And so let me just open up the phones and give you a chance to join with us. We're going to use a different number, and this is the order number. This is the Truth Team number, whatever you want to call it. It's 1-800-347-5151. And if that's not enough, Penna, there's more. Turns out we have someone that has decided to give us a match up to $5,000.
Wonderful.
So that means your gift of $30 becomes $60. Your gift of $100 becomes $200. So again, 1-800-347-5151.
Yeah, I love matches because your gift is doubled. And in this one, we've got to get the $5,000 pledged today. Is that correct?
That's right.
Because it expires at midnight.
Yeah. So again, this is one of the things that we have done in the past. So some of you already know the routine, but for those of you that are new listeners, we certainly would welcome you. And again, one of the things we want to do is as you give, we want to provide one of those welcome gifts to you. And it can be the Bible stick. It can be the tumbler and journal set. You can find out a lot more as you talk to some of the people that are sitting by the phones right now waiting for them to ring. Matter of fact, we've got a friend of mine out there. I've got my wife answering the phone. You can find out after you make your pledge what it's like to live with me. That's a good story right there. And so again, we encourage you to give us a call, 1-800-347-5151. But Penna, a lot of our listeners today are really computer savvy. They can just go on to the website, pointofview.net. We've got a banner there. You just click on the banner and you can see all of the welcome gifts. You can actually select your partnership level, and you can do it even while we're at commercial break. So that's a great opportunity.
We'd love you to call in, but we make it also easy for you to go online. And I might mention these gifts are beautiful and really an opportunity to be reminded to listen to Point of View every day and also to pray for us.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by John Stonestreet. Of course, you hear him on the Breakpoint commentaries. He's also the president of the Chuck Colson Center for Christian Worldview. Penna Dexter with me, but it's Truth Team 360. We need to hear from you. We'll be right back.
This is Viewpoints with Kerby Anderson.
We all know how addictive these digital devices might be, but I was surprised to see an article in the New York Post describing it as digital heroin. The author is a doctor at one of the country's top rehabs and also served as a clinical professor at Stony Brook Medicine. What he says in the article is shocking. We now know that these digital devices, iPads, smartphones, and Xboxes, are a form of digital drug. All you have to do is look at some of the brain imaging to see how these devices are affecting the brain's frontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that controls executive functioning, including impulse control. We also know that these devices raise dopamine levels, the feel-good neurotransmitter, which involves the addiction dynamic. In fact, scientists have found that they can raise these levels as high as when people engage in sex. One doctor who serves as the director of neuroscience at UCLA calls these screens electronic cocaine. Chinese researchers refer to them as digital heroin. The head of addiction research for the Pentagon and the United States Navy has been researching video game addiction and calls the games and screen technologies digital pharmakia, the Greek word for drug. Of course, you don't have to know much about neurophysiology to suspect there's a problem. Many parents wonder if these glowing screens are having a negative effect on their kids. They see aggressive temper tantrums and short attention spans. The few brave enough to take these devices from their kids even see them going through withdrawal. The author has treated over 1,000 teens for digital addiction. He has found that treatment is very difficult once a child has crossed into addiction. In fact, he has found it easier to treat heroin and crystal meth addicts than Lost in the Matrix video gamers or Facebook-dependent social media addicts. We shouldn't be surprised that some call these devices digital heroin. I'm Kerby Anderson, and that's my point of view.
For more information about issues covered on Viewpoints, visit pointofview.net. Pointofview.net. Point of View, Truth Team 360, Alan West.
You know, when I think about the importance of Point of View Radio, it is so essential that we connect with the Christian conservative community on the issues and the topics of the day so that they can really get that information to educate and inform them to make better decisions. You know, I have two daughters, 22 and 18, and one of the things that concerns me is the impact that the culture will have upon them. And if we don't stand up as evangelical Christians, as Christian conservatives, and start to show the other points of view and start to talk about these issues that are critical out there for the building of character, the strengthening of the soul and the spirit against some of the very negative impacts of culture, then we will lose our young people. We will lose future generations. The important thing about Point of View ministry is that it arms you. It equips you to go out and do exactly as God commanded Joshua to do. To be strong and of good courage, for the Lord thy God shall never leave you nor forsake you.
Point of View, Truth Team 360.
Truth Team 360 this week, and great comment from Colonel Alan West. Penna was at an event the other day. He said a number of very nice things about me. I thought if my mother was still alive, even she'd get embarrassed. He was saying so many nice things about Point of View, and has actually sat in this chair and done this program a couple of times. This is the middle of Truth Team 360, encouraging you to give to this ministry, and we have a $5,000 match on the table. And I wanted to put out my first thank you. George from Kentucky has joined us at $30 a month or $1 a day, $360 a year. And so we've been talking about maternity leave, but let me now bring another guest to the microphone, John Stonestreet, a good friend of this ministry, president of the Chuck Colson Center for Christian Worldview. Of course, he's been so involved over the years with Summit Ministries and even before that on the faculty of Bryan College, a graduate of Bryan College, as well as Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. John Stonestreet, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, Kerby, it's my pleasure, and it's always great to be on the radio with you guys on Point of View.
Hi, John. It's Penna Dexter. It's really good to have you. And, we're kind of trying to talk about setting an agenda for the future, and Point of View has always attempted to be part of that and to help Christians and conservatives understand what that means. And so there was one piece that we have posted at pointofview.net, something that you wrote that we thought really helped people to understand one item, and that is that there is a looming demographic winter in America. We've always been a country that stayed slightly above replacement level, mostly because of immigration. Now you say that immigration effect is going away, and we're in a little bit of danger there, aren't we?
Well, that's absolutely right. But this goes back, to an assumption that was, put out into the culture back in the 70s in the population bomb that we were just at risk of overpopulating the planet. But that vision comes from a worldview assumption, and the worldview assumption is that the world is just a place of fixed resources, and that people are consumers of resources. And so the more people you get, the more teetering on the edge of, crisis and, obliteration you're going to be. The Christian worldview says something very, very different, which is not that humans are, just consumers, but humans are also producers. Not that humans are the solution, but ultimately humans are the problem. They have the ability to look at the resources, add in their creativity and innovation, just like humans have done since the beginning of time, and actually make the world a better place. And so this assumption that too many humans equals obliteration has now kind of gone back the other way, and the pendulum has swung. So now in many Western countries, and in the U.S. included, we're not meeting the basic replacement rate, which is leading to some significant cultural shifts and certainly some cultural vulnerabilities.
Well, it is, and it has an economic impact, and certainly as Christians and as believers, we know that that's one of our mandates, is to fill the earth. And so it's interesting to look at now a proposal that's come out of the Trump campaign just basically yesterday, having to do with a child care plan and, different incentives and encouragements for families, especially since so many moms are working moms now. Some of the ideas, Kerby and I have just been sifting through it a little bit. They bother us because they remind us of redistribution of wealth and sort of government planning. But the idea that a government would encourage people to have babies, in a sense, also appeals to us. But as you've said, it's really a worldview that underlies this, not government policy.
No, that's exactly right. But also underlying this is that there's no such thing as parents. There's only mothers and fathers in reality, and that's an assumption that's just completely being swept away, kind of in the wake of the LGBT agenda. That back in the 70s when no-fault divorce was being pushed, we were saying to each other, "Oh, kids don't need married parents; kids just need happy parents," and that proved to be completely false. And now we're saying something very similar, which is kids don't need moms and dads; kids just need parents. And to me, that's the most important part of rebuilding the family. Certainly, getting time off work, coming up with good maternity and paternity leaves. These things matter, but much more fundamental to our issue with rebuilding American society is rebuilding the family. And you can't rebuild the family just by taking any random people or any random parts. There's a design to this. There are moms and dads that provide the best context for children to become citizens that are self-governing, that are virtuous. Just earlier today, I was reading an article about how there's just such a breakdown of trust that most Americans don't feel that people around them are trustworthy. Well, where do we learn about trust? We learn it in the home. And if we can't trust moms and dads to be there for their kids, then we're not going to have a society of trust. And so, coming up to this election, Penna, I think it's so important. And that's why, by the way, I love, and I'll just put this in there as well, what I love about Point of View is that there's a lot of focus on politics, and politics is a part of culture, but most of the time it's downstream from the rest of culture. That was one of the things Chuck Colson loved to say, and I really believe is true. Politics matters, but what matters even more is what's happening in the culture. That Christians need a window and a lens into the culture. That's what we try to do at Breakpoint and the Colson Center, and that's what you guys do every day at Point of View. And being able to not chalk everything up to the next election or who's going to come in Air Force One, but realizing the responsibility that we have to faithfully live out the gospel, understanding the culture, and then living out a faithful life in the middle of what is certainly a difficult cultural moment. That's where the real hope is. It's in the church. It's not in the next election.
Again, this is a Truth Team 360 week, and we're encouraging you to join with us. And we did get a number of phone calls, but as we go to the break here, let's again challenge you to call the pledge line, 1-800-347-5151. We have a $5,000 match on the table, which expires, as Penna pointed out, at midnight tonight. And we're involved in changing lives. We're encouraging you to change lives, and really we're trying to educate you, equip you, and empower you to make a difference. And we are kind of in a co-venturing kind of mindset, because I was just thinking, I've got my commentary coming out about the demographic winter coming out on Friday on my commentary, where I quote, of course, John Stonestreet. So Breakpoint, Point of View, a lot of groups are really trying to emphasize these issues and educate you to be effective. But again, as we come to a break here, we really want to have you, challenge you, and to have you consider what you might do to help us out financially. We have this match on the table, $5,000, and as I said before, we don't probably give to get, but we do want to give you a welcome gift. One of those, Penna, is this Bible stick, which has the New Testament, and so you can have
Fantastic
a chance
tool.
to hear the New Testament. And of course, we have the 16-ounce tumbler and journal set for those of you that give at a higher level. So whether it's $1 a day, $30 a month, some of you might want to support a minute a month, which is $65 a month. And some even say, well, I could probably do $100 a month. Let me encourage you right now to go to the phones or go to our website. You can go to pointofview.net and click on the button, or pointofview.net/team. Either way will get you there, or 1-800-347-5151.
And I would encourage you not to wait because of this matching gift. I mean, really, it's more bang for the buck. It's doubling your gift because some generous person has said, yes, I'm going to match up to $5,000. But this match ends at midnight. It gives a sense of urgency for folks that are just listening on this first day of our Truth Team 360 series of broadcasts. So we encourage you to not to wait, but to go ahead and call us or go online today and to pointofview.net and make that pledge.
John Stonestreet with us. When we come back from the break, we'll have a lot more to talk with him about. And again, one of the things that you are not only supporting is the radio program, the video that you can watch after the program is over, all the articles we've posted. We've posted one of John Stonestreet's very good Breakpoint commentaries, and he and Eric Metaxas every single day educate us about issues we've never thought about before. And this one in particular reminds us of the fact that we are losing the fertility. The fertility rate has dropped dramatically. And when we come back, I want to talk with him a little bit about, is there anything we can do to reverse it? I think there are, but they're more in the worldview area, not in the political area. Let's take a break. 1-800-347-5151. We'll be back right after this.
This is an incredibly important week for Point of View. We need to build our war chest to get us through the election season. This week, we need you to step up and join the team. Just as a political campaign cannot get its message out without donor support, Point of View must have friends like you as we head into the final leg of this presidential race. Imagine Hillary Clinton in the White House. Think of what justices she would nominate to the Supreme Court. The next president is likely going to shape our highest court for several decades. And Point of View wants to provide a biblical perspective of all of the issues in this year's campaign. But we cannot do it. We simply can't without you. Please step up now as a monthly partner. Click the Join the Truth Team button at pointofview.net and choose your level. Stretch a bit or call 1-800-347-5151 51. Pointofview.net and 1-800-347-5151. 1-800-347-5151. Point of View will continue after this.
You are listening to Point of View. The opinions expressed on Point of View do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff of this station. And now, here again, is Kerby Anderson.
Truth Team 360, and it is a week in which we are again challenging you to show your support for what we're doing. Penna Dexter with me, and again, we're setting the agenda for life and marriage all through the week here. We're going to be talking about setting the agenda because we'll have a new president, we're going to have a new Congress, certainly some very important issues to talk about, and we'll continue doing that with our good friend John Stonestreet, president of the Chuck Colson Center for Christian Worldview. Just before we get back to that, let me thank a few of those of you that either called in or went to the website. Paula from Stockton, California, thank you for your gift. Number of people that went online. Renee from Florida, also want to thank you for your gift. Susan from Maine. And so again, many of you have either gone online or a few of you have called, but let me just mention that we do have operators standing by, as we say. A lot of them are good friends or staff members, or in one case, my wife, and they're just sitting there and they're waiting to take your phone call. So if you'd like to join us, and I really would challenge you to do so, 1-800-347-5151. The reason for that is, especially, we have this $5,000 match. We're chewing up a little of it, but we have a lot more to do, and we certainly want to make sure that we fulfill the requirements that were set by those that have donated to the match. So, Penna Dexter, we've got an opportunity for people to call, but we also are privileged to have with us a little bit longer John Stonestreet.
John, I'm so glad you're with us today. It's always fun to talk with you because, as you mentioned, politics is downstream from culture. I always say to people who turn their nose up at politics, you shouldn't do that because it's a tool. It's a tool we use to make things happen that we want to happen. And, as we mentioned, there's been a proposal about childcare that's been put out there yesterday, and there's some things in there that might be good and helpful and maybe encourage young people to have kids. But as we discussed in the last segment, it's really a mindset that encourages our young people to have kids. And Kerby and I are both at the stage of life right now where our kids are starting to have children. Mm-hmm. And you see that. You see you see kind of the emphasis on the future in their lives. They don't mean to think about it that way, but they're trying to build certain values into those kids that will just automatically cause them to be great moms and dads. And unfortunately, we have stripped out of this culture the idea that a family is the building block, that a mom and a dad and the kids are the main building block. I mean, it was God's idea. We stripped it out of the culture. The left has actually succeeded in doing that, but it didn't start just a few years ago with the attacks on marriage. It started before that, didn't it?
Well, it did. I mean, it's the message of the sexual revolution really was twofold, and I need to say I owe kind of the summary of this to Jennifer Roback Morris at the Ruth Institute, who's also her. A friend of both of ours. Yeah, but the two messages of the sexual revolution were first that sex, marriage, and babies were separable, and second that men and women are interchangeable. And if you think about those ideas, I mean, you go back first of all to the pushing of contraception. Many Christians don't know this. Many evangelicals don't know that pretty much across the denominational spectrum, even among Protestants. That contraception was not considered an okay thing until the 30s with the Lambeth Conference and the Anglican Church. And even at that point, what they were promoting was the use of contraception in order for women's health, not as a way of separating marriage and babies. It wasn't, it was one of those things that was hijacked really by the sexual revolution advocates, the artists and the educators and kind of the promoters of that agenda to push not only marriage without children, but really sex without babies. I mean, really to separate all three of those. And if you think about it, prior to kind of the onslaught of contraception, those three things were a package deal. And I think the way God created them, they're a package deal. And it doesn't mean that there's no limits at all on that or that we should have as many children as we want. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that what we've had since the sexual revolution is what you might call a contraceptive mindset, where sex has been fully separated from marriage, that it's quaint and maybe even unhealthy. We even tell kids in schools to not express themselves sexually, to wait, and so on. And that, sex and babies are completely separate. So now it's completely normal for a couple to get married and plan up front not to have children. Well, these ideas have consequences. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. You see in your children as they're having children that suddenly their perspective shifts to the future. If there's one thing that marriage does, marriage particularly that is committed to reproduction or procreation, it makes you think about the future. I have 3 daughters. What that means is a number of things. First is that the number of shoes in my house is absolutely stunning.
I can imagine.
The second thing it means, oh my goodness! But the second thing it means is that I think about the future, right? I mean, it's just because I know down the line is college, and down the line is marriage and wedding ceremonies. These things cost money, and so suddenly I go from an immediate mindset to a long-term mindset. That's what marriage brings to a society. It makes a society think about the future. And if marriage and family are considered optional and so on, then we lose that long-term perspective. And instead of living for the future, we live for the moment.
You know, there's so many things that become baked in, I think, to our psyche as a culture. One, I think, that's become baked in is there's an assumption in the broader culture of sexual activity. There's no assumption anymore that someone would be chaste and be virginal. It's not even there. It's so countercultural. It's absolutely amazing. Now, marriage, here in Texas and in the South, it's still assumed among our kids. But I can't tell you how many of my kids' friends who've moved to, say, New York City, they aren't getting married. They're just living with people. Marriage is not even discussed or talked about. Or if one, it's like something the other partner might not want. And so, these things are, they're subtle and they come over time. And I look at it now and I'm like, we're there.
Yes.
We're almost beyond we are beyond a biblical worldview now. And those of us who have one, we have to work very hard to bring that or to even encourage that in the part of the culture that would still be open to it.
Well, we do. And one of the things that I think is really important to understand is the shift in worldview. I think sometimes we look at what's happening in our culture and we want to chalk it up to just a shift in morality. In other words, that things that used to be morally wrong are now considered morally okay. And certainly that's taken place. But the moral shift has ridden the wave of the worldview shift. And if it's just a moral slide, you can get up and you can get on national TV and you can pontificate and tell people to get back in line. And a lot of, I think, Christian activists still do that. But I think what we really need is to go back and actually do the sort of worldview challenging work that Paul did in Athens, as we read in Acts 17, where he realized, listen, we're not even on the same page. We're not using the same language. If we are using the same words, we're not using the same dictionary. So for example, when we say marriage and the culture hears marriage, we may think this God-given institution that he put into the fabric of humanity itself to protect the proliferation of future generations. What the culture hears is maybe an optional decoration on my relationship if I'm really in love, right? I mean, there's a huge difference when we say marriage and when our culture,
Sure.
what our culture hears when they hear marriage, and the ability to make that distinction. And as Chuck Colson said, to make the case with our everyday neighbors around the backyard fence or the barbecue grill, which goes back to why people need to get behind groups like Point of View. You guys aren't irrational yellers. You guys, on a day in and day out basis, bring clarity and an ability to take what is very important and recommunicate it to our friends and neighbors, and that's what Christ has called us to do.
Well, again, we certainly value what you have provided. As a matter of fact, a little bit later, we're going to be hearing a comment by Sean McDowell, and you and Sean McDowell have written this excellent book called Same-Sex Marriage. We have a link, of course, to Breakpoint and also the Chuck Colson Center for Christian Worldview. And John Stonestreet, thank you for being such a good friend, and thank you for joining us during our Truth Team 360 week.
It's my honor. Thanks for your work and your partnership in the gospel.
Just before we take a break, let me just mention that, again, if you've just joined us, it is the middle of Truth Team 360, and we have a $5,000 match. If you're not familiar, Truth Team 360 is based upon the idea that for as little as $1 a day, $30 a month, $360 a year, you can certainly support this ministry and provide kind of the regular support that is necessary for us to continue bringing these kinds of programs to you. I know you don't give to get, but let me mention again, we have the Bible Stick for those of you that want to enter in at the $1 a day, $30 a month. Those of you that might want to support us at $65 a month and actually sponsor a minute a month, we have available to you either the 16-ounce tumbler and journal set or the Bible stick. And of course, at $100 a month, we want to send both of those to you. And as we go to the break right now, this is a good time for you to give us a call. That number is 1-800-347-5151. We do need to hear from you because we have a match on the table of $5,000. Help us change lives. We're equipping you so you can change lives and make a difference as well. Penna Dexter with me. When we come back, we have some other comments. Later in the program, we'll be talking with Marjorie Dannenfelser, and this is going to be an opportunity to hear from her as well about the election. All that coming up right after this. 1-800-347-5151.
Point of View. Truth Team 360.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for everybody on Point of View. I mean, you guys are all champions. The country needs your show. I support you. Again, thank you so much for everything that everyone in that room does, and that we need this show like you wouldn't believe.
I think Point of View is very worthy Christian ministry, and that people, listeners, should support this ministry. I'll encourage everyone to do so who can.
My wife and I have listened to Point of View for about 17 years now. We just want you to know how much you have meant to us in our lives. I've gotten a real education since I've started listening to Point of View.
I just wanted to say thank you for your programs. I listen to you every day, and you're really my inspiration to do what I do at my church. I feel capable, mostly from what I learned from your programs.
I just want to commend you guys on your program. I love listening to you.
My husband and I are your supporters. We just really appreciate the show and the people you bring on.
Point of View. Truth Team 360.
Just a few of the comments from some of the listeners in the past, and certainly we'd love to hear from you as well. Penna Dexter with me. We're talking about setting the agenda for life and marriage. Really going to get into the life issue in the second hour. Marjorie Dannenfelser will be with us, and she is the president of the Susan B. Anthony List. But Penna, just before we get any further, let me thank a few individuals from Joplin, Missouri. I want to thank Margaret for her gift, and Suzanne, calling in from Longview, Texas, said she loves the show, gets political information from it, listens every day. And we might even express to some of our listeners why it's important to support Point of View.
Well, I think as we look at it right now during election season, and we look at not only candidates for president, but down ballot and the control of the Senate and all of that, I think it makes Point of View very, very important. I mean, we aren't quote unquote political, as we said before, but every issue that comes up in your news today, there is a biblical worldview to that. There's an underpinning that helps you to look at that issue from a sort of a biblical perspective, or from God's or Christ's perspective. And that's what we try to help you with. And it's nice because we have the 2-hour a day window to be able to do that, not only with what we present, the guests we have, but also the callers and the interaction with people who bring up questions. So that's one. And then, with regard to the campaigns, a lot of times, we're looking at ads, we're looking at the news appearances of people, we're looking at what the media says. And I think we help take a sort of a knife and cut through all of that and help people really see, what is the issue? What is God's view? What is the world's view of that particular issue? So we do that. And then, of course, we help just get the campaign rhetoric out of the way and see what's really there. It's hard to do sometimes. It's very hard to do because you've got all kinds of stuff out there that you've got to sift through. But I think that's a real service we provide, and it becomes even more important during the election season.
And certainly even as we started the program, we were talking about a new proposal put out by Donald Trump and his campaign, how to think about that. And certainly there are going to be a number of other proposals that we'll be looking at as well. But, you mentioned about this idea of being on the cutting edge and trying to find good information. Rebecca Hegland's been a good friend of this ministry, an individual that used to listen to the program, then became vice president of the Heritage Foundation. This is what she had to say.
Oh, it's like coming home every time I'm on the show with you, Kerby, right? Because it has been a long time that I've been a supporter of Point of View. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, 30 years. As a young newlywed living in Houston, Texas, but I moved away from D.C., where I had been involved in politics for a while. And I kind of felt like Houston was a little bit of a desert experience for me. And I discovered Point of View. And Point of View provided everything I needed to really nourish me at that time in my life. It was always on the cutting edge of what was going on politically, because we know that we as Americans have a great treasure in the freedom and the Judeo-Christian values upon which our country was founded. And we know that when we get away from those values, government can become obtrusive, and it starts interfering with our religious freedom and our parental rights and our free speech. And so it's very important for Christians to know what's going on in our government and to be involved in that. And I always found that Point of View was a great place to go for truthful information. And then, of course, as a newlywed and now having been married for over 30 years, Point of View is also a great resource to go to for spiritual and family help. And so it remains a vital part of our lives, and certainly in my personal work in trying to help families strengthen their relationships with each other as well.
Some kind comments from Rebecca Hegland, and we certainly do need to hear from you. The pledge line number, the Truth Team 360 number, 1-800-347-5151. 1-800-347-5151. Of course, you can go to the website, pointofview.net.
It's good to hear from Rebecca, because she's one of those, I like to call them Point of View babies. I mean, she was raised hearing Point of View, and it influenced her worldview and her career, and now she's influencing others. But, Rebecca, back when she was at Heritage, I remember a video she made on missile defense. So the issues that are important to families go from, military defense issues all the way to child rearing, which Rebecca has written several books that have been very popular about families and raising children. So that's, we've influenced her, but that's kind of who Point of View is. We really, we move across a spectrum of issues that affect families.
We talk about point of view babies, and I think we're going to have one of those in studio.
Yeah, he doesn't like me to call him that, but yes.
But, we're going to be talking, of course, we'll have Kelly Shackelford, and we'll be talking about their setting the agenda for religious liberty. But we will be talking with one of his colleagues who said, I first started listening to Point of View when I was in the back seat of my mom's car in grade school, and that made me feel pretty old. Jeremy Dice. So we'll have him tomorrow tell that story. But whether it's Rebecca Hagelin or certainly a number of others, Michelle Bachman, Kelly Shackelford himself will probably tell the story once again that he's done so many times. Here he's a law student at Baylor Law School. He's listening to Marlon Maddox, and he's saying, maybe I could use my legal training to defend religious liberty instead of just going and working for a law firm. And look what has happened now, First Liberty. So again, this gift that you are giving to us is one that really helps equip people to stand in a culture. And if we've ever needed point of view, it's certainly the case. And we certainly have already enjoyed some of the comments we've heard from Alan West in one of the clips there, as well as from John Stonestreet, and then some of the callers, and now Rebecca Hagelin, of course, Penna Dexter as well. And Penna, I think we just, again, need to remind people that for as little as $1 a day, which is really not very much, $30 a month, $360 a year, you can be one of our Truth Team members. There are a lot of benefits. Obviously, you receive the Outlook magazine. We have all sorts of mailings we do to you. We send you various videos and things like that you can link on in your computer. But in addition to that, we also want to send you this Bible stick because it's an opportunity for you to hear the entire New Testament. And you can listen to it when you want. It's no bigger than the stack of gum, for those who remember what a little gum stick looks like. And we're making that available for your gift of $30 a month. And for larger gifts, we have some other beneficial gifts and welcome gifts that we're providing. So you can go to the website, pointofview.net, and it gives you an opportunity to look at those welcome gifts and to make your commitment. But we also encourage you to give us a call, 1-800-347-5151.
We have the gifts, and they're sort of a symbol, I think, of folks' participation with us in airing this broadcast. Because, we're asking you to join Truth Team 360 at a certain level of giving. And again, I want to remind this matching grant. But, you're part of a team. And if you have no other way of influencing the culture, your gift of point of view would do that in spades. I know that you're influencing the culture in other ways. And we do provide the tools for that with the information we provide. So it's really a team approach. And we're just really urging you today to be part of this team. And this is a great opportunity. And again, there's a couple of ways you can call and pledge. The number is 800-347-5151, 800-347-5151. You can do the pledge online, pledge or gift, and that is pointofview.net. Hope you'll do that.
Yeah, $5,000 match, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Marjorie Dannenfelser and learn a lot more about some of the candidates and how they stand on life. 1-800-347-5151. Be right back.
Former White House policy advisor Gary Bauer.
It's only by listening to things like Point of View that Americans find out what the ultimate agenda is. What we've all got to do is make sure programs like yours and this network continue to thrive, because that's the only way millions of Americans are going to find out the information that they need.
And the way to ensure Point of View Radio thrives is by going online right now or picking up the phone to join Truth Team 360. We bring information, wisdom, and encouragement to help you take action for the good of this community and the nation. Go online now to pointofview.net/team. Pointofview.net/team. Select your giving amount, choose your gift, stand together with people all across the land on Truth Team 360. Pointofview.net/team. Join Truth Team 360 by phone, 1-800-347-5151, or mail that first donation to Point of View, Box 30, Dallas, Texas 75221. Point of View will continue after this.
I just thank God for y'all. I listen to you every day, truly. I wanted to thank y'all for everything you do each day to inform Christian families and our community about the things we can do, and just the way you're so informative. I listen to you daily and love you guys and appreciate you so much.
God bless you, Kerby, for keeping this show so on track and for the decades of wonderful help to this nation that Point of View has been. We're all big fans of your work, and we pray that God will just prosper it.
As a Christian, over the years that I've followed this program, I am constantly challenged to be on guard and to evaluate what's going on. And if for no other reason, to protect the caliber and the truth of your programming, I need to participate and to back your program financially to ensure that the truth stays out there for people to hear, to view, and to be a part of.
This is Point of View Radio.
Hi, this is Kerby Anderson. You know, each day we take on the tough issues and provide a biblical perspective to them. The topics we cover are wide-ranging: apologetics, theology, prophecy, creation and evolution, intelligent design, marriage, family, child-rearing, the millennial generation, friends and society, politics, economics, business, religious liberty, the Constitution, public policy, foreign policy, military policy, tensions in the Middle East, abortion, homosexuality, pornography, sexual ethics, media, technology, history, and America's godly heritage. We talk about anything that affects your faith, your family, or your freedom. So don't go anywhere, because Point of View continues right now.
Across America, live. This is Point of View. And now, Kerby Anderson.
Thank you for joining us. Penna Dexter with me today, and we are this week talking about setting the agenda. We're going to have a new president, a new Congress, and today the focus is setting the agenda for life and marriage. And in the first hour, I had a chance to hear from John Stonestreet, president of Chuck Colson Center for Christian Worldview, an individual that's been at Summit Ministries all these various years. A little bit later this hour, we're going to be talking with Marjorie Dannenfelser, who will talk about setting the agenda for life. I think you're going to learn quite a bit about some of the candidates. And this is Truth Team 360. It's an opportunity for you to support this ministry. And if you've appreciated the news, information, commentary that we provide for as little as $1 a day, $30 a month, we certainly encourage you to be part of that Truth Team. $30 a month becomes $360 a year. That's why we call it Truth Team 360. Of course, it also is the idea of 360 because we're looking at all the issues. Everything is on the table. And again, if you have not given us a phone call, we certainly do want to hear from you. This is an opportunity for you to pledge something. Some have given one-time gifts. Penna, some have been willing to give $1 a day, $30 a month. Others can join at a higher level, $65 a month for supporting a minute a month, or even $100 a month, and there are various welcome gifts we can talk about. But as we pointed out the first hour, we have a match of $5,000 on the table, don't we?
We do. So every gift that you give will be doubled up to $5,000. That match ends at midnight tonight. That means today is the day. So when you respond, and we hope many of you will respond, this time is really now, to our opportunity that we're giving you to help be part of our team, your gift will be doubled. So whatever you decide that you will pledge or whatever you will give, it will be doubled. And we appreciate that person that has said they would do that, and we ask that you help us take full advantage of it.
You can go to the website, pointofview.net/team, or just simply go to Point of View and click on the button, and there you will see the welcome gifts. We have a Bible stick for those of you that give at the lowest level, and this is a way for you to listen to the entire New Testament, carry it with you. At the higher levels, there are other beneficial, we'll call them welcome gifts, but they're very beneficial to your spiritual growth. But Penna, I thought we might also talk a little bit about what we do here at Point of View. We're educating people, we're equipping them, but we're also encouraging people to take action, aren't we?
We do. We have the Take Action Now section on the website, and a lot of times we'll pick an issue. Right now it's internet freedom, and I don't think you're hearing a lot about this in the news. But really, the American values of freedom and liberty have been part of the reason that we have been such a good steward of the internet ever since it was developed. And now President Obama, as, I don't know, a gift to liberals, I guess, before he leaves office, is saying that he wants to give control of the internet away to an international body, keep the U.S. or in the U.S.'s control. And this means that repressive regimes who do not value freedom of speech would have a hand in controlling what happens on the internet. It's just a bad idea. So there's a take action item there. It will help people to just go to our website, send a message to a member of Congress. Congress is going to be considering whether they can stop President Obama from doing this in days. And so we do this type of thing all the time. We enable people with the tools we have using our website and our radio show to inform you what the issue is, to make a difference in a very simple, time-saving, easy manner. And so, that's part of the beauty of Point of View and part of one of the reasons that busy people like to support us.
And again, when you support Point of View, you're not just supporting the 2-hour radio program, but all the videos, the take action items. And if you think that one is not important, you should have listened yesterday. We had Craig Parshall on. We were talking about his new fiction book. Boy, he's quite a great writer on that alone. But he had been, as you well know, the vice president and special counsel for the National Religious Broadcasters and had documented in the past all the places where there already is internet censorship. And he's scared to death about what happens when no longer we have American values considering this. And when you have Russia and China and others saying this is really good that we're transferring it away from America, I think when you have people in Russia and China thinking this is a good thing, this is not a good thing. So there's just another example of the benefits that come to you as you listen to Point of View and as you support this ministry. So without hesitation, I ask you to go to the phones right now and call our line, 800-347-5151. We need to hear from you. We have some people sitting around ready to take your phone call. For those of you that are internet savvy, and most of you tend to be, you can simply go to our website and sign up there, and I'll be giving you some thank you notes in just a minute for that. But let me, as we're talking about the importance of take action, Michael Ferris has always said that one of the most significant events that ever took place is when Marlon Maddox, the host of Point of View, told people to call Washington, D.C., and he was so appreciative of the fact that Point of View stood for truth.
Point of View was the first and most important program that announced to the world the need for H.R. 6, which was the key battle that we fought years ago with Marlon Maddox to stop the eradication of homeschooling by Congress. A bill called H.R. 6. That was the high point, perhaps, but faithfully over the years, this radio program has stood for faithfulness and stood for truth and stood for homeschooling rights. And I would just encourage every homeschooler out there to call and pledge something. Whatever amount it is, call and pledge something and be a part of the station and a program that has been so important to the preservation of homeschool freedom.
You used to homeschool your kids, and you, again, understand the importance of defeating H.R. 6 and allowing homeschool to continue on.
This was a bill that it was so misguided, and what it would do would be to require people who homeschooled their children to have a certification as a teacher. And, my degree was in politics and international relations. I was not a certified teacher, but I did a great job teaching my kids to read. I'll just have to say that. I kept them out of school for a few years, homeschooled them. I think they had a great foundation. They all did very well in school when they did go to school. So when I heard of this, and this was in the waning years of my homeschooling, my last child, but it was upsetting because I'd seen the success of homeschooling all across the nation and how, parents were able to really cut through what happens in the public schools and teach their own children, teach their values. And so, H.R. 6 came in there and it began to just, it would have killed homeschooling if it had passed. And Point of View got hold of it. Dick Armey was one of the congressmen in this area, and we learned from him, and he sort of stopped, he introduced something that would stop this agenda. And so it went out. Point of View was so powerful in getting phone calls into Congress that many members of Congress's phones were shut down because of all the calls that were coming in. We didn't have the internet then, so we were just we were generating calls, and really it was defeated. This whole agenda for curtailing and hamstringing homeschooling was defeated, and Point of View had a huge impact on that. And this is when I really got excited about Point of View. Little did I know I would end up joining the team here and co-hosting for many years. And so, that's an example. Michael Ferris was very grateful for that. But, we continue to do this type of thing with all the issues that face us, and they're mounting.
Well, and again, that's one of the reasons why I think you need to support us, because as we can get you that information, we can help you be more effective and take a stand for culture. So as we take a break here, let's encourage you to make that phone call, 1-800-347-5151. We have a $5,000 match on the table. That means your gift of $30 becomes $60. A gift of $100 becomes $200. We need to hear from you. 1-800-347-5151. We'll be right back.
This is Viewpoints with Kerby Anderson.
We all know how addictive these digital devices might be, but I was surprised to see an article in the New York Post describing it as digital heroin. The author is a doctor at one of the country's top rehabs and also served as the clinical professor at Stony Brook Medicine. What he says in the article is shocking. We now know that these digital devices, iPads, smartphones, and Xboxes, are a form of digital drug. All you have to do is look at some of the brain imaging to see how these devices are affecting the brain's frontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that controls executive functioning, including impulse control. We also know that these devices raise dopamine levels, the feel-good neurotransmitter, which involves the addiction dynamic. In fact, scientists have found that they can raise these levels as high as when people engage in sex. One doctor who serves as the director of neuroscience at UCLA calls these screens electronic cocaine. Chinese researchers refer to them as digital heroin. The head of addiction research for the Pentagon and the United States Navy has been researching video game addiction and calls the games and screen technologies digital pharmakia, the Greek word for drug. Of course, you don't have to know much about neurophysiology to suspect there's a problem. Many parents wonder if these glowing screens are having a negative effect on their kids. They see aggressive temper tantrums and short attention spans. The few brave enough to take these devices from their kids even see them going through withdrawal. The author has treated over 1,000 teens for digital addiction. He has found that treatment is very difficult once a child has crossed into addiction. In fact, he has found it easier to treat heroin and crystal meth addicts than Lost in the Matrix video gamers or Facebook-dependent social media addicts. We shouldn't be surprised that some call these devices digital heroin. I'm Kerby Anderson, and that's my point of view.
For more information about issues covered on Viewpoints, visit pointofview.net. Pointofview.net. Point of View, Truth Team 360, Dr. Sean McDowell.
We clearly live in difficult times, especially for Christians. Sometimes it feels like the culture is just turning against us quickly. We need to speak up with compassion, but we need to speak up with truth in the way that Jesus did. That's one reason why I'm a big fan of Point of View, is they're dealing with cutting-edge, controversial subjects that the church sometimes doesn't want to deal with. But they do their homework, they do it informed, they also do it in a way that's practical so we understand the issues but know what we can do about them. Ministries like Point of View can only survive with the help of listeners. One of the reasons I think Point of View is so valuable is because they just deal with the cutting issues of the day in a manner that's informed, in a manner that's gracious, and in a manner that's making a difference. Point of View is standing up for truth and they need your help.
Point of View, Truth Team 360.
Sean McDowell talking about why you should support Point of View, and want to thank those of you that have already done so. We're getting close, Penna, I would think, to almost halfway to our $5,000 match, but I want to thank Santos, who is in Arizona, and Nettie, I think is how that's pronounced, in Missouri, and then Velma in Illinois. So you've got all over the country callers from Maine to Florida, from California to Alaska. So we've got all sorts of people calling in, but we need to hear from you as well. 1-800-347-5151, 1-800-347-5151. As we mentioned, $5,000 match on the table, and it evaporates at midnight, so we need to hear from you. And we're talking about setting the agenda for life and marriage. In the first hour, we talked about marriage with John Stonestreet. Now let's talk about life. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the Susan B. Anthony List, and we have have posted a very good article that she's written so that you get to know a little bit more about, what does Donald Trump and what does Mike Pence think about this issue of life? Penna?
Hi, Marjorie. It's so good to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's one of my favorite places to be, even virtually.
Well, we love having you. And, Donald Trump says he's pro-life, and but there's no track record really for us because he hasn't been in politics. He hasn't held office. But you can look to his vice presidential pick, Mike Pence, to really see. In fact, really, Marjorie, and your article proves this, you can't get much more pro-life with regards to somebody who's done things in Congress than Mike Pence,
That's right.
Can you?
That's right. And like you said, when somebody doesn't have a track record, doesn't have a voting record, you look to some important things. One is the words that they speak, and especially if they speak them more than once, and especially if they speak them when it gets really hot and contentious and difficult. The other is the people that they surround themselves with. And there are lots of examples of great people that you and I and everybody listening will really respect that he has around him, but none more than Mike Pence, who and if you don't know him, you should know him. I worked very closely with him when he was in the Congress, and he was the author of the Planned Parenthood defunding bill at a time when it wasn't cool, when no one was talking about it. And he really built that momentum in so many ways, along with the videos and a lot of other things. And so he's that guy. It's in his DNA. And his faith and his family life are an expression of those commitments. And everything he does evolves from that place, his faith and his family. Donald Trump chose him. And I think we have to think about that. Why did he do it? Well, if he's completely contrary to his worldview, it just isn't going to work. And it's going to be way more pressure than he could stand. So I think we have a lot of good words, definitely, that have been repeated many times, the commitments to life, and some actions that really show that there's some authenticity there.
Marjorie, you mentioned Planned Parenthood funding, and, we can look at other races, too. The Senate is perhaps up for grabs, and some people are saying the House, we could lose, the right could lose members in the House, and one of these issues is the defunding of Planned Parenthood. To many of us, and to many who listen to Point of View, it seems like a no-brainer that we should not be funding Planned Parenthood. But the contrast is, it's like night and day. You have Hillary, who's probably one of the best friends Planned Parenthood has ever had. And then you have, a more committed defund option with Trump Pence, but also looking down in the Senate and other races. Do we have the opportunity to actually defund Planned Parenthood in the next few years?
Oh, yes. It is an emphatic yes. We would have done it already if we had a different person in the Oval Office. And I'm not just talking about potential and momentum. I'm talking about the bill, as you know, passed the House, it passed the Senate, it was sent to the president's desk, and he vetoed it. Now, it would be defunded, the federal funding part of it, right now, if we had an ally in any way in the Oval Office. So, yes, the Senate is up for grabs. 60 votes is usually the threshold for getting votes to stop a filibuster. But on the Planned Parenthood vote, it's considered a funding. We were able, thank God, and the leaders in the Senate were able, along with McConnell, to make it included in a funding bill so that it only takes a majority. And so that is what we need to maintain in the Senate, a majority in the Senate, and we need an ally in the Oval Office, and we will defund Planned Parenthood right away. It will be one of the first things that happens, I predict, because I think they know this time, more than any other election in my memory, that the pro-life movement and its strength is going to be a major part of victory in November.
Marjorie, aren't we dealing with something that really is black and white? Because let's go on the other side. Cecile Richards, president of Planned Parenthood, says there's never been a presidential ticket more committed to abortion than Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine. A lot of people don't know that Tim Kaine has a 100% voting record for Planned Parenthood. So you really have the difference between night and day, don't you?
It really is. And we also have a difference of hypocrisy. It is a 100% black and white. Clarity is a gift in politics so that you know what you're choosing. And Hillary Clinton has said over and over again that she doesn't believe in the rights of the unborn. She even said the unborn person does not have rights until it's born. she can't protect. She won't protect the child up until birth, perhaps even beyond in some situations. And then Tim Kaine is the example of hypocrisy, who purported to be mildly pro-life and against federal funding. And then he changed his position just to be on this ticket. He said, I used to be for the Hyde Amendment, but if she wants to overturn that, then no problem. I've got no problem with that. So that was the cost of being on this ticket versus conscience. So the contrast is ideal. And I think the closer we get to Election Day, the more in the public eye that's going to be. But the one thing we cannot do is stay on the sidelines and wait and hope that it gets better, hope the conditions prevail and good conditions prevail. We can't do that. We've got to get involved now. And I appreciate everything that you're doing at Point of View Radio to make sure that everyone is engaged.
Liz, if we can just, again, challenge you to call our phone number, 800-347-5151. That's the Truth Team 360 number. And as we are encouraging you to do that, one of the things, Penna, we talk about is equipping people to have some great resources. And we've posted two of those that Marjorie Dannenfelser has made available. One is a great comparison between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, also between Mike Pence and Tim Kaine. And this is a great document that you can then print out. I would encourage you to print it out maybe on a color printer, and you can hand it to your friends. And then we have the article that Penna was quoting from, written by Marjorie. Mike Pence promises a Trump presidency will stand for life. Some of the comments made at the Values Voters. So as I have mentioned before, you're not just supporting the 2-hour radio program. You're supporting the call to action that we just talked about a moment ago. You're supporting some of the material that we have made available to you on the website. And I would really encourage you to think about how you can use some of this great material from Susan B. Anthony List and Marjorie Dannenfelser, and we've posted it on the website today. Just one more reason for you to give us a call, 1-800-347-5151. Of course, you can also go online and find those articles and click that button to donate to this ministry, and that's at pointofview.net.
We just have to remind you that there's a match on the table, $5,000 matching gift. So anything that you either pledge or give as a one-time gift during this program and today, up until midnight tonight, will be doubled up to $5,000. We're about halfway through that as far as we can tell from our calculations. And so we need you to step up. As a matter of fact, this is a listener-supported ministry, and we don't have any other way of really operating. We need people who benefit from Point of View to support Point of View. So we're asking, even if you've never done it before, we're asking you to maybe take that first step today and either call us. The number is 800-347-5151. That's 800-347-5151. Or you can go to pointofview.net and donate there.
When we come back, we'll talk with Marjorie a little bit more about some of the policies and some of the candidates. And also, what about some of these pieces of legislation that were never signed, like the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act and conscience protection? So we have a lot more to cover. But as we go to this break, this is a great time to give us a call. We have operators standing by. They're waiting for your phone call. And so 1-800-347-5151. Of course, you can also go to the website, pointofview.net. We need to hear from you. We have a match on the table. We'll continue our conversation with Marjorie right after this.
This is an incredibly important week for Point of View. We need to build our war chest to get us through the election season. This week, we need you to step up and join the team. Just as a political campaign cannot get its message out without donor support, Point of View must have friends like you as we head into the final leg of this presidential race. Imagine Hillary Clinton in the White House. Think of what justices she would nominate to the Supreme Court. The next president is likely going to shape our highest court for several decades. And Point of View wants to provide a biblical perspective of all of the issues in this year's campaign. But we cannot do it. We simply can't without you. Please step up now as a monthly partner. Click the Join the Truth Team button at pointofview.net and choose your level. Stretch a bit or call 1-800-347-5151. Pointofview.net and 1-800-347-5151. 1-800-347-5151. Point of View will continue after this.
You are listening to Point of View. The opinions expressed on Point of View do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff of this station. And now, here again, is Kerby Anderson.
Last half hour, and certainly we want to hear from you. The pledge line number, 1-800-347-5151. It is Truth Team 360. Penna Dexter with me, and we have by phone Marjorie Dannenfelser. And again, we are challenging you to consider what you might do to support this ministry. We have a $5,000 match on the table. think we've cleared the halfway point, maybe a little bit further. I haven't counted them, but let's real quickly thank a few of you. Jacqueline calling in from Georgia, Barbara calling in from California, had a number of callers from the state of Texas, Lance and Catherine. I want to thank you for your gifts, and for a one-time gift, or certainly what we're also looking for, are those of you that can support us on a monthly basis. Penna, I've recognized that we have monthly bills, and if we have monthly donations, it matches up pretty nicely. So that's why we're challenging some to consider becoming a Truth Team supporter. That's as easy as $1 a day, $30 a month, $360 a year. That's why it's called Truth Team 360.
And we're asking you to be part of the team. And again, the number is 800-347-5151 to call in and tell us either how much you want to give today or how much you want to pledge. And as Kerby said, we love it when people can consistently give over the year. And then the website is pointofview.net, and you can also make your join the team, really, by going there, pointofview.net. Marjorie Dannenfelser from Susan B. Anthony List is with us. Marjorie, I read a scary comment that was made this week by New York Senator Chuck Schumer, who, if the Democrats take control of the Senate, he would be majority leader. He said a progressive Supreme Court is an imperative if he becomes majority leader. And that is a scary thought, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And if there's no other reason, that is primary. This election and the Supreme Court really reached to the foundations of how our government was made. And with a reconstrued Supreme Court, those foundations can be reassembled to look nothing like the America that we know. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about religious freedom. I'm talking about marriage and protections for unborn life. You don't have to be a Phyllis Schlafly to make sure that this doesn't happen. Everyone voting and taking their responsibility seriously and encouraging and giving to Point of View Radio, frankly, all of these things add up to protecting. It's just a handful of days till that day. There are a couple of other commitments that Trump and Pence have made. One is to only appoint select Supreme Court justices. That is vital. That is number one. But also to defund Planned Parenthood, to assure the passage of the Unborn Child Teen Capable Bill with 5 months restriction, and also to ensure that the Hyde Amendment is protected. So all of these things taken together and reiterated over time, we remind each other over time that this is what it's about, mean that we have a solid team in Trump and Pence. We have a solid team when we consider ourselves part of the process of saving the republic. And I really do think that's what we're talking about right now.
Marjorie, there's another bill that came to my attention recently also. Some of these names are, they're good because they're very descriptive. But, we banned partial birth abortions in this country. We had a bill. It took a long time, but was finally upheld by the Supreme Court. But now you can look at late-term abortion, and you can see there's another method for it. And so Senator James Langford of Oklahoma has introduced legislation that would ban a dismemberment abortion, where they actually tear the child apart in the womb and do the abortion that way. And this is done in the later stages of pregnancy. So that one is out there now. Where do you think that a Trump-Pence ticket would stand on that?
Well, I think one thing I'm sure of, I've talked to Senator Langford about this bill, one thing I'm sure of is that we would have better advocates in the White House with Trump and Pence. And one thing I'm 100% sure of is that Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine will say this bill is all about one thing, limiting access to abortion. This is about stopping first trimester abortion. Now, we would say yes. In fact, yes. Emphatically, yes. But they will see this. They, of course, will cast it as, far more, way further reaching than a late term ban, where I know we have consensus now. But I think it's important to support that bill and to keep pressing on that bill, because look, if we get an advocate in the White House and we pass the 5-month bill, this needs to be the beginning of a new momentum. This has got to be the second stage after Roe versus Wade of turning things back to where they should have been in the first place, or where they were in the first place, which is protecting unborn life. That bill is also passed in Kansas and a couple of other places, along with that same capable bill that's passed in 17 states.
Been talking with Marjorie Dannenfelser, again, president of the Susan B. Anthony List. And again, if you would like to know more about her or, again, some of the great resources that we have mentioned about this, a comparison between the Trump-Pence ticket and the Clinton-Kaine ticket, or also her article on Mike Pence promises a Trump presidency will stand for life. It's all available at our website, Point of View. Marjorie, thank you for being with us today here on Point of View.
Hey, thank you. Would you let me be on the team? I really want to. I'd like to give. Am I a candidate for giving?
You certainly are. You can give us a call, or you can simply go to the website, which is pointofview.net. So thank you so very much for
Thanks,
offering.
Marjorie.
Can't do it without you. Thank you.
Let me just real quickly encourage you to join the team as well. And we've had this happen from time to time where some have come on and actually decided to put a challenge up or a match up or even join with us. And I certainly know that everybody around the table that we'll be talking with this week have all actually become team members as well. So we encourage you to do that. 1-800-347-5151. And I thought for just a minute we might hear from our friend Frank Turek, because he talks about how important it is to look at the content that we make available that you don't hear anywhere else.
This is the kind of content that we need out on the airwaves every single day, because the mainstream media certainly isn't going to give you this. I mean, every day I listen to the Bible and what the New York Times says every day just to see what both sides are doing. And I love what Kerby and everyone on Point of View does every day, so that's why you should support it.
Well, again, just a quick comment from Frank Turek. And again, that's one of the things we talk about so often. We're really trying to cover issues that other people are not covering. I would imagine a lot of people right now are saying, oh, I didn't know all about that. I didn't know that about Mike Pence. I didn't know some of the stands that they've taken. I certainly didn't know that about Tim Kaine, who is actually portrayed oftentimes as a moderate, and yet he has got a 100% Planned Parenthood voting record on the Hillary Clinton team. So you really do see some stark differences, and you hear about that when you listen to Point of View.
Well, that's what we've always been committed to, is to providing truth. That's why we really call it the Truth Team 360. Because we're here to broadcast the truth and to sort of dig down beneath the spin that you hear on other media outlets. And, you know, that's been ever since our show was founded, we've been trying to do that. And I think today it's needed more than ever.
Let me just again challenge you to help us out. We have a match on the table. We have a number of you that have called in, but I noticed at least one line. It looks like two lines open. So that's a great opportunity for you to join us. 1-800-347-5151. And as I've mentioned before, but I know that some of you kind of tune in and maybe haven't heard, we have welcome gifts for you. And that is a way to say thank you for your gift. For as little as $1 a day, $30 a month, we provide this Bible stick. It comes from Faith Comes by Hearing. We've talked about it before. It is the audio version of the New Testament, and it is so well done, and it's just a great way to hear God's Word and to carry it with you. And so this is something that we have certainly encouraged you to get a copy of. In the past, we've even have been able to work out with Faith Comes by Hearing to get those Bible sticks in the hands of those that serve in the military. So at that level, certainly you can receive the Bible stick. If you want to support us at a minute a month, that turns out to be $65 a month. Then we can give you a choice between our Tumblr journal set, which is available on our website. You can see more about it there, or the Bible stick. And for $100 a month, we give you both and all sorts of other resources that we want to put in your hands. So, Penna, we're just looking for a few dedicated individuals to support this ministry so we can continue bringing these programs every single day.
I guess it's a good time to think about the power of radio, because Point of View broadcasts to hundreds of stations across the country. Mm-hmm. And we do this with a staff of 8 people. I mean, we really, we watch our nickels and dimes, but we don't skimp where it's important. And that's why we provide a robust website that helps people to stay involved in many ways. And that's why, and we also don't charge stations to air our program. So it's a true ministry. and we're asking you to be involved in that ministry and join Truth Team 360. And again, pointofview.net or 800-347-5151.
Today we've heard from John Stonestreet and Marjorie Dannenfelser. Also, we've played some audio clips from people like Alan West and Sean McDowell and Michael Ferris and Rebecca Hagelin and Frank Turek, and probably hear a few more after the break, but we certainly encourage you to join with us. And Marjorie wanted to join with us as well, so I appreciate that. So I'm sure that maybe I'll need to read her name off in just a minute as somebody who just gave to the ministry. But we have a place for you. So if you'd like to join us, 1-800-347-5151, or of course, pointofview.net. Make those calls. We'll be back right after this.
Point of View. Truth Team 360.
I really appreciate your program. I don't get to listen to it every day because I have to work, but it's really a blessing to me and to all of us.
I'm going to listen, and Point of View will talk about it, and then I'll know the truth, so then I'm able to speak more wisely.
Well, you know, because you have your program and Fox News, well, I don't send them money, but I'm going to double what I'm sending to you guys because thanks to you, you're keeping this all up to speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just, first of all, I think you guys, y'all's program is wonderful and enjoy it every day. I learn so much every time I listen to it. Not only that, I want to encourage everybody listening to donate because without our donations, I know that y'all won't be able to stay on the air, and it's just I don't know where we get this kind of information if it wasn't from y'all.
I'd really first like to say I appreciate Point of View. You've been great and wonderful. A lot of information, and I really appreciate all your work you do.
I'm a relatively new listener to the show, and I really kind of stumbled upon it more than anything. And my comment really is I think you guys and gals are more right on about the assessment of this country right now than anything I've heard. You know, I go home and I tell my wife, you've got to hear what they're talking about on the show. It's just so right on.
Point of View. Truth Team 360.
Just a few comments from some of our listeners, and we certainly encourage you to not only be a listener, but to be a donor. Penna Dexter with me for a few more minutes. This whole week, we're kind of talking about setting the agenda. Today was setting the agenda for life and marriage. We talked about marriage with John Stonestreet and the demographic winner. We also talked with Marjorie Dannenfelser about life, and we encourage you to give us a call. That number is 1-800-347-5151. I have calls here, but we can also, of course, read off from some of those individuals that have actually gone online. But Penna, we have, Diane from Alaska, Tom from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Eileen from Michigan, and then also Rosemary from Texas, to mention just a few others that were handed to me a minute ago. But there's a place for other listeners to join with us today, right here.
Yeah, first of all, let me say thank you to everybody who's actually joined Truth Team 360 during the program today. We want to mention that this is the final segment of the program, but that doesn't mean you can't call. And I'll just give the number. Write it down if you haven't called yet. The number to call to become a part of Truth Team 360, 800-347-5151, or go to pointofview.net. That's the way to do it. And we're starting to be able to have some people to thank, Kerby. And we just want to mention we've named it Truth Team 360. And that word truth is so important. And we've heard this from some of the clips that you played, Kerby, that people trust a point of view to really give the truth on some of these issues. And sometimes you don't know where to find the truth. It's at Point of View, and also in a way that can help you to articulate and spread that truth to other people. We can also post a lot of those articles, so you don't have to take Penna's word for it or my word for it, although we certainly do our best to try to give you the truth as we can figure it out and find it. But we also give you some things, so if you have some people that say, well, where did you hear that? We have articles that you can download as well. Well, you know, tomorrow we're going to be talking about this whole idea of setting the agenda for religious liberty, so I thought it might be good for just a minute to hear from Matt Staver. And he really argues that if we really don't know what's going on in our culture, that's why you really need to listen to Point of View.
The fact of the matter is, when you have a program like this and you really drill down to what the realities are, what's actually taking place, how girls are being assaulted, how men are coming into girls' changing rooms, shower rooms. That's not what you're hearing on the typical media. You're only going to hear it from a place like Point of View. And it's not just on this. It's on lots of issues. Right. If we don't know what's going on in our culture, we're not going to be informed, and we're not going to make a difference. Point of View not only goes down beyond the typical media news, gives you the detail, helps you to become informed, and gives you not only information, but how to make a difference. And that, I think, is so critical. Point of View has been such a stalwart in this area for so many years. You know, without Point of View, without the message and the information that comes from Point of View, the Christian community would be in worse shape than it is. Point of View is a clarion voice. And frankly, right now, with what we're seeing in the culture, we need Point of View now. And if Christians, people who are concerned, who want to know the truth and want to make a difference in our lives for our children, our grandchildren, and for our current situation, if they don't support Point of View, then where are you going to turn to?
Well, again, just some great comments from Matt Staver, and just a reminder again of the battle that we'll be talking about tomorrow, the battle for religious liberty. Yes, Matt Staver's been in that battle. He is head of Liberty Council, and also he's at Liberty University Law School. And, you know, to hear him say we need Point of View now, I might add we need Point of View now probably more than ever. There is so much at stake, and in that area of religious liberty, you have to make that case, and you will be doing that tomorrow on Point of View with Kelly and also Jeremy Dyes. I look forward to hearing that program. But ladies and gentlemen, I just want to ask again before the end of the program today, and remember that you can continue to call and join Truth Team 360 after the program, all into the afternoon and evening. And we ask that you would do that because this grant is on the table. Kerby, we haven't got our updated numbers, but we were about halfway last time we looked. That's not
good enough. We need to get
No,
all
it
the
is
way to
not.
the 5,000 so that every gift can be doubled up to 5,000 today. So again, call us and you can go ahead and give the pledge or the gift at 800-347-5151 or do it at pointofview.net.
I know what oftentimes happens. I've been around the listeners long enough. They all wait till the end. And so if you call and you get a busy signal, just wait a minute and call back again. I think we still have an open line, so that's good. But sometimes they just get busy at the end and they wait till the last moment. And I know they don't want to miss what we're talking about. So sometimes we get more phone calls after the program ends, which is going to be in about 2 minutes. But at the same time, we want to make the match. And at the same time, perhaps you've just joined us. Let me mention that we do have a welcome gift that we provide to you. Your gift of at the lowest level, of course, $1 a day, $30 a month. $360 a year. We have the Bible stick. It's done with our good friends Faith Comes by Hearing, and it's the New Testament audio, and it's no bigger than a stack of gum. And you can carry it with you. You can listen to it. You can fast forward. You can pause it. Just a great way for us to say thank you and to put God's word in your heart and through your ear gate and give you a chance to hear a lot more of what we need to apply every single day in our lives. But at the higher levels, we also give you at $65 a month, which is a sponsorship of 1 minute a month. Then we are talking about a 16-ounce tumbler and journal set debossed with our logo. You can see all of those pictures on our website. And at the $100 level, I would certainly hope that there's somebody listening today that say, really, I probably could give you $100 a month. I couldn't give you $1,200 a year if I had to do it all at once, but I probably could come up with $100 a month. Then we give you both of those, as well as all the other benefits that come from being one of our Truth Team members. Membership has its privileges, and this is one of the things that we want to provide to you, along with our Outlook magazine and so many other resources. But Penna, just before we go off the air, your final comments.
Well, I like doing these shows because it reminds me how many different issues that we can talk about here on Point of View that really go to the worldview of the believer who's out there listening. And in order to shape that worldview and sort of connect a Christian worldview with actions that can affect the culture positively, that's what we try to do. And in order to do it, again, we need a team. It's a team effort. And so we need your help.
Well, again, I was thrilled to hear that Marjorie Dannenfelser, who's listened to us many times in the past and have been with us many times in the past, said, I want to support you. She says, really, my two favorite radio programs are NPR and Point of View, which I think kind of funny because they are a little different. But nevertheless, I appreciate that. And so if she's going to join with us tomorrow, of course, we're going to be talking with Gary Bauer, and he will join with us. And I know you and Kelly Shackelford and Jerry Toom, all sorts of people are already members. So we're just asking you to join the membership that we are a part of. And so this is why we challenge you as we're going off the air. Write this number down, and you can call it right now or call in a few minutes from now, 1-800-347-5151. Of course, if you have your computer with you, you can simply go to pointofview.net. This week, we're talking about setting the agenda. We'll do more of that tomorrow. I want to thank Andrew, Catherine, and Shamila for their help behind the scenes. Thank you, Penna. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
The end of the book of Jonah is really strange. God said there were 120,000 people in Nineveh who didn't know their right hand from their left. And yet today in America, many of our major corporations and politicians are fighting a war to permit men to use women's showers and bathrooms. Once you deny God as the measure of all things, you can't even recognize the most basic realities. America is in a battle for its sanity and survival. We need strong voices to tell the truth. We need Point of View. Become a partner in this important mission of speaking truth in love. Please, today is the day. Click the Join the Truth Team button at pointofview.net. Choose your giving level. We've had a great start to this important week, and we need to keep it rolling. Take that step, pointofview.net, or call 800-347-5151. Join the Truth Team today, pointofview.net, or call 800-347-5151. 800-347-5151. Point of View is produced by Point of View Ministries.
I just thank God for y'all. I listen to you every day, truly. I wanted to thank y'all for everything you do each day to inform Christian families and our community about the things we can do, and just the way you're so informative. I listen to you daily and love you guys and appreciate you so much.
God bless you, Kerby, for keeping this show so on track and for the decades of wonderful help to this nation that Point of View has been. We're all big fans of your work, and we pray that God will just prosper it.
As a Christian, over the years that I've followed this program, I am constantly challenged to be on guard and to evaluate what's going on. And if for no other reason, to protect the caliber and the truth of your programming, I need to participate and to back your program financially to ensure that the truth stays out there for people to hear, to view, and to be a part of.
This is Point of View Radio.